Well, China's capital is stepping up measures to stop the spread of COVID in Beijing once again. Let's bring in Yahoo Finance senior health reporter Anjalee Khemlani. Anjalee, it's interesting timing in all of this. Obviously, there's been a lot of focus on the Party Congress. Xi Jinping sort of reiterating that zero COVID isn't going anywhere. Yep. And yet there seems to be some rumblings about whether there could be a little loosening of the policy.
A little loosening in inbound travel and quarantining there. There's also some discussion about what else can be done. We've seen some pushback, of course, in recent weeks. There have been some cases tied to quarantining and isolation that have resulted in negative results. A 14-year-old, I believe, recently died after unclear whether or not she was taken, to the center because she had COVID or was a COVID contact. So a lot of focus on the zero COVID policy and what that means with ongoing lockdowns, residents really struggling to access food and medicine. And because of that slight uptick, 18 new locally transmitted cases in a day, certain residential compounds have now been locked down again. And we've seen in recent days certain parts of the country going back into lockdown mode. We know right near the Apple Hub the other day. So a lot of mixed, efforts and unclear on whether or not it's actually doing anything to really pull back on the case rise, because we've seen how even here, there still is a concern about rising cases, and these new transmissible variants are really going to make it hard for them to continue what has been now more than 2 years of this kind of lockdown.
Yeah, so let's talk about what's happening here locally. I don't know, I walk out in New York City, nobody's wearing a mask.
No, they're not.
Because the policy isn't there in
Correct.
place. And yet we started to see the uptick in cases again. Where does that stand?
And that is the concern. So we've started to see a few cases, a few areas of Manhattan rising above that 20% positivity rate as an average for the last 7 days. And that is a sign of more increase. We saw this same uptick in the other boroughs in the last couple of months. And so it does seem to be sort of creeping back with a rise in COVID cases, which is not unexpected. Now, the thing to watch is those new Omicron variants, the BQ1, BQ11. That's where experts are really keeping in their eye as the BA5 starts to decline in its presence around the country. We've seen in the general New York area, which the CDC includes with Puerto Rico and New Jersey, has also seen an increase in those numbers for BQ1 and BQ11, 20% almost. And that's a little bit higher than the national average right now. So definitely something to keep an eye on.
Also a good reminder to go out and get your booster
Yes.
if you haven't already. I know you're staying on top of that. All right, Anjalee Khemlani, thanks so much for that.